Hey, Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Thank you, as always, for making this a part of your day. Obviously, a big win over UCLA just last night at the Coliseum. Tremendous atmosphere, tremendous way to end the regular season for Lincoln Riley and this 2025 squad. As I said before the game, there was a massive list of recruits that were in attendance. We can't really report on recruits while we're there, but they were hyped. There were a lot of kids excited and whatnot. Or I should say we can't like take pictures and whatnot, but I mean a ton of recruits excited about the win, excited to be able to hang out with Chad Bowden, his staff, talk to Lincoln Riley, and just the vibes were high, really, really high. So what's the latest with recruiting as we are just 2 days away or so, Wednesday, National Signing Day, as USC looks to close on this 34-person class, the number one ranked recruiting class in the country. And word on the street is, this is what I've been saying now for a while, but our friend Scott Schrader put it out there just right after the game that USC is looking to not be done yet. They will be trying to add at least one more to this class to bring it back to that 35 number they were at before Jaquan Morris changed his commitment over to Illinois. And so what is that looking like for this? Now, I think there's some options out there, but the name that keeps coming up that we've talked about quite a bit here and has now been talked about again is the elite receiver, Kaden Dixon-Wyatt. So is this close to actually happening? They've been talking to him constantly kind of over the latter half of the season after the Mater Dei's high school game where they lost to Centennial. I came on here and said his language while saying his recruitment was done, it's going to be Ohio State. To me, the way he said it was still very much so leaving the door open. To me, it did not really feel definitive that it was recruitment shut down all in on Ohio State. I mean, quote, "It's looking like Ohio State," Dixon said. And then later after that, after talking more, saying, "At the end of the day, Ohio State." That kind of language to me tells someone that's like, I'm still leaning that way, but I'm not like 100% not thinking of other options. That might still be his top option. But just that language, and again, these are high school kids, so you don't want to read between the lines too much on this, but I said this before, but I'll say it again. To me, if it's, I'm like, oh yeah, recruitment's locked down. I'm not talking to anyone else. Like I'll be at Ohio State. I'm signing with Ohio State on signing day. That to me is like definitive. Okay. But it's looking like Ohio State. That means there's some very real smoke or real fire, I should say, to the smoke that USC is potentially making moves. Now, just today, Adam Gorney of Rivals, kind of following up on that sentiment, comes out and says, there have been rumors that people close to Dixon-Wyatt would prefer he stay closer to home. But he said it was his Mater Dei teammates who are committed to the Trojans that are really trying to keep him in the fold with USC. Days before signing day, one source said he still wouldn't be surprised if the 4-star receiver flipped to the Trojans on Wednesday. Now, behind the scenes, and this is something we've talked about and you've probably heard a lot, will USC ultimately be able to match the NIL offer that Ohio State has on the table for him? And that's kind of, I think, maybe where there's a snag. I don't know for sure if it's more NIL heavy or if it's more of just like, hey, playing for Brian Hartline, going to Ohio State, or staying at home and helping what is being built here at USC. But it was reported last week that it didn't look like USC told him straight up, we cannot match, or we will not match what Ohio State is offering. I think that was what was said last week. Now, has that changed? I don't know. And I don't know what, the offer, the NIL package was for Jaquan Morris, who is now at Illinois. But the way recruiting works now, that likely has freed up some dollars. And I know it's different positions, and many out there maybe don't want to see USC get another receiver. But if that freed up some dollars that they could maybe tack on to what their initial offer was to Kaden Dixon-Wyatt, that could sweeten the pot and allow them to potentially flip this really, really good receiver who they see clearly as someone that could make an impact day one for a receiver room that is extremely talented, extremely young, but also losing a lot of talent and veteran leadership in Mekhi Lemon, potentially Jacoby Lane, and others who are going to be out of eligibility. So it's going to be really interesting to watch this one down the stretch, these final really 2 days. Here it is Sunday night, and we'll see what this thing ends up really Tuesday going into Wednesday. Another person said from Gorney's reporting, Kaden might flip to USC. Don't be surprised. We shall see. So, ultimately, it's all just kind of guessing game at this time, but USC is definitely in a good spot. Greg Smith of Rivals also kind of put out some predictions today. More of this was, I think, opinionated. But in regards to the two modern-day receivers, Chris Henry Jr., another one that's getting a lot of kind of smoke around Oregon potentially flipping him, and we know Oregon will throw the bag at him and try to get him to commit. I mean, can you imagine if Ohio State ends up losing both their top receiver commits on the eve or the day of signing day? And I don't think anyone can take away from Ohio State and what the program they have, and obviously they're the number one team in the country right now, and the recruiting that they're able to do. But that'd be a pretty wild blow to lose two of your top recruits on signing day to two West Coast teams in Oregon and USC. Now, Smith said that he said Dixon-Wyatt is at least listening to USC coach Lincoln Riley, but the smart money is on Ohio State holding on there. But things can get weird as National Signing Day approaches. So we'll see about that. We'll see what comes down and what this transpires, and I'll be on it. Anything I hear jumping on here in the next kind of 24, 48 hours to let you guys know. But I think this would be a really interesting one, as USC has said they're not done yet. Is it Kaden Dixon-Wyatt, or is it another player they're going after? I know one player that we've talked about a bunch is KJ Ford, defensive end, committed to Florida. He was obviously heavily recruited by USC early on in the process, and specifically this past spring, once they earned the commitment of Luke Wafel. They kind of moved on that a little bit, and Ford ultimately chose Florida. Now, they were kind of reopening up that recruitment and conversations more as the season went on. He had a visit scheduled for this past Saturday for UCLA. He ended up not coming ultimately. I don't know the exact reason for that, but did not go to that visit. And it seems like the trend is for him now to ultimately end up with the Texas A&M Aggies. So wouldn't say it's totally done, but it does seem like USC is kind of moving on past that one. Dylan Berryman is another one I've talked about, who was originally committed to Texas, ended up decommitting. There's been rumors of, obviously, LSU. He is from Louisiana. Now with Lane Kiffin, finally that saga seemingly being over, him being the next head coach, will he kind of close in on that and close that deal? Now that there's some closure there and there's actually some knowledge of what's going to be happening moving forward. So those are kind of the big names that have been linked, obviously, with a 34-person class. There's not a lot out there, but USC seemingly is looking to kind of add still one, maybe two more to close this thing out on Wednesday. So will it be KDW? We will see. We'll keep you posted. Could they still make a push for Chris Henry Jr.? That does not seem likely, but hey, you never know. KJ Ford, door might be shut on that. Dylan Berryman, door might be shut on that, but we'll see if there's any new names that kind of pop up towards the stretch here. I'll do another video. I need to do a little bit more diving into it now that Lane is officially over at LSU, but obviously Ole Miss, they have elevated their defensive coordinator, not just as an interim, but as their new head coach. So you would think that recruiting class may not fall apart because of that. There's going to be still a lot of similarities or a lot of knownness that the recruiting class has kind of met him and whatever staff remains there. But there has already been a few detractors from that class. I think they have, as of right now, like 3 decommitments. So I'll take a look over and see if there potentially are any fits that USC maybe would go after guys that were originally committed to Ole Miss and now are not. So, it could be a wild 48 hours or so as we get to the final stages of signing day. I cannot wait. I'll be on USC's campus on Wednesday as they have the press conference and announce it. So I'll see you all there. But keep it right here. USC LAFB. Hit that like and subscribe button for all the up-to-date intel on all things recruiting. And everyone enjoy your evening. We'll be back tomorrow with plenty more USC coverage. As always, family, fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat that you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayava in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USC LAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in 10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at 20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.